All right, what is going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Thank you to everyone out there, as always, for listening, for watching, following, subscribing. I appreciate you very, very much. Big thank you to today's sponsor as well, Sunny Reds, 1531 Abbott Road, minutes away from Highmark Stadium. Great food, great drinks, a good vibe. Karaoke there a couple times a month, and that place gets mobbed for karaoke. Anyway, if you haven't been there, do yourself a favor. Stop up at Sunny Reds. All right, this is our Monday show, which means, as usual, different circumstances, though, for the first time now in several months. Joe from Queens joins me. We are going to continue all off season long to do these live shows on the video side on Sunday nights, even though the season is over. Joe with his ritual of cracking a beer. What's going on, man? How you doing? Actually, before I even get to you, let me let people know who are watching this or listening to this. Now that the season's over, obviously there's no more post-game reaction shows with Joe. Yep. So we're going to mix a lot of stuff up. Today, we're going to revisit preseason predictions that Joe and I did before the season started. We had 20 of them. We're going to go back and we're going to take a look at those, see what we got right, what we got wrong. We'll also have a little bit of Sabres talk today, little Royal Rumble talk, an exciting WWE weekend, a crazy NBA trade. I want to get your thoughts on that. Plenty more coming up today. Joe from Queens, what do you got there in that can?
Oh, I got a Hamburg from Hamburg Brewery, a Big Lou, a double IPA, 9% alcohol level, which I'm sure scares you, Pat, because you don't drink real beer. You drink Miller Lite or some shit that sucks. I told my wife today that I'm like, hey, I'm doing a podcast with Pat, and she's like, why? The season's over. And I'm like, no, there's no off season on Talking Buffalo. We got to BS a lot of stuff for the next 9 months and talk about Marge Simpson dress stuff again and stuff that no one cares about. So we're just gonna, sure. I don't know what we're gonna do. It's going to be
we're going to be creative. That's what we're going to do. We're going to mix things up.
You're not very creative, buddy. Okay, come on. You steal everyone's stuff. Everyone knows that.
That's fair.
We all have a long thread. Everyone, all of us, just the content bros. We're like, Pat stole this from me this week. No, actually, we don't. But I'm sure it exists somewhere. But go ahead.
Episode, by the way, 978 here, Talking Buffalo.
978.
Yeah, 978.
Dude, you're gonna be to 1,000 when? Next
early
week?
March. If I have 5 episodes per week and nothing happens, there's no setbacks or no bonus episodes, emerging pods or anything like that. Episode 1000 would be on Wednesday, March 5th.
So who are you going to have on there? I know you
have
not
you. Not you.
I know you're going to have Alex Fansky on probably. You're going to have Skursky's going to definitely be on. You're going to have Sal Capaccio. He's going to, promote his Italy trip. You're going to be on with everyone. It's everyone's coming on. That's what you're gonna do, man. I can't wait.
The worst. You are the worst, man. Let me ask you.
Stir that pop, baby. Go ahead.
On a serious note, before we dive into a host of topics, one thing I will say too, right off the bat here, I if there's a silver lining in the season ending for the Bills, I enjoy having an opportunity to get to other stuff. Like you come on every week for the last of September now. And 85% of those episodes are just we're reacting in real time to a football game that just happened. This is kind of an opportunity to really talk about not just the Bills, which we always will, but a lot of other stuff as well. So I kind of like doing these type of episodes, and hopefully a lot of people will continue to listen and watch the show. Let me ask you this before we dive into going back to the summertime and revisiting 20 predictions, individual and team wise, that we made for the Bills. Kind of fun too. I looked at it. We're going to share all of our picks.
So full disclosure. So I'm going to set it up. I got this since it was my idea. So back in the summer, sorry, Pat, you probably like this idiot, but back in the summer, I had a topic idea because I was sick and tired of talking about training camp. I was sick and tired about Elam's impact in training camp or the Buffalo Joe's impact on training camp. And I was like, enough already. And I was like, look, let's do a two-part piece. I put together a list of 20 predictions sure to go wrong probably. And my idea was after the season was over, we would go back to it and then we would see how wrong we were. And I have not looked at it. I know, like, I brought this up to you today. I have not looked at it, so I kind of forgot.
It'll be fun for you then.
Yeah, I don't remember what exactly it
I
is,
got it.
but you have it, and I know I was terrible. Like, I know for a fact I was just awful this year.
Some I was too. Some we got right. That's
well, yeah. You're not. It's not shocking that you were wrong.
Look,
you're always
if
wrong.
everybody did what we're doing today and they went back to their preseason predictions for this team, I think there'd be a lot of people that were wrong about a lot of things. So I don't think we're unique in that way. But it's gonna be fun.
I think the homers would have been right because they always love the Bills, and they would have been like, oh, everyone's gonna be an all-pro, and everyone's gonna eat their words, and they got it right. Hey, good for you guys. Good for you.
We'll get into that. We'll see. Let me ask you. I want to ask one question later. All right. So we're now a week removed, about a week or so at this time. The fandom in us as Bills fans, our hearts were being ripped out again by the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Bills lose. We're going to talk in a little bit. You brought up a good point to me. We were talking privately. Is the Bills' inability to get over the Chiefs psychological on some levels? We're gonna hit on that a little bit. But what I wanted to ask you right now, I don't know if you're familiar with the term DABDA as like the 5 stages of grief. Do you know what that is?
No, I don't know what DABDA is.
It's DABDA. It's 5 portions. It's called DABDA. DABDA. There's denial, then there's anger, then there's bargaining, then there's depression, and then there's finally acceptance. Where are you kind of right now on the DABDA chart when it comes to the season being over and losing again to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game? Like, where are you at in that stage quickly?
I'm at, I would say, acceptance. Like, it took a good, 2-3. I mean, after that game, obviously we rolled in the podcast and did it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I called my friend. Maybe I mentioned this guy before, but he was one of my groomsmen. He's a Chiefs fan. And leading up to that game, we were sending each other. He's got a son that's like 3 weeks younger than mine. We're sending each other voicemails and like just goofy shit, like the day of reckoning, like Mahomes and Kelsey, they're all gonna get wiped off the planet, like shit like that. And like, it's like, all right, you know what? It's one of those things where the game ends, and I'm like, all right, I'm calling him right now to be like, hey, good game. Like, take my medicine. And I called him, and he had this big shit-eating grin, like, right when I answered right when he answered. And he's like, and I was like, look, dude, I don't need to hear this. I'm just calling to say, like, congrats, blah, blah, blah. And then I hung up, and I don't know what stage that was, but that was just more of, like, I was shocked. And then, like, for the next couple days, I kept, just replaying the game in my head, and then going.
Well, you went through the anger because we were talking earlier in the week, and you were getting more pissed off, like maybe on Monday and Tuesday that the Bills lost and Wednesday lost. So you definitely went through that anger stage for sure.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, because when when we did our post show, I didn't really see the Dalton Kincaid replay, which they showed like 5 minutes later. I think I was just looking on some, and if you listen to our post game, I was pretty much, it was a tough catch, blah, blah, blah. But then when you slow-moed it, I was like, oh my God, I wanted to kill him. And I was like, and I saw that after the game, and I was looking on Blue Sky, and I was like, I want to die. Like, so that's where the next day I was just like, you just thinking of that. And then it was just like, what's wrong with this team? And, I got over it like Wednesday, Thursday. Like, I haven't watched any, like, my wife doesn't want to watch the Super Bowl. I don't know if I am or not. Like, maybe I'll watch the second half because she usually goes to bed like 8 or 9. I don't know. I'm just kind of like, I'm done with the season. Like, I'm done. Like, I don't want to I have not watched ESPN. I haven't watched any other shows. I don't want to see anything. I don't want to see debate. Like, is Mahomes the Michael Jordan of the NFL? Is Josh Allen the, I don't know, the Allen Iverson of the NFL. I don't freaking know. Like, I was like, I don't want to see anything. Like, I don't want to. I mean, I've listened to some local Bills content, but like, I didn't want to hear the national shit. So I'm at acceptance at the end of the week because it's just, what do you got to do? I'm not going to sit here.
That's fair.
I have a life. I have a kid and all that shit and a wife. I can't just be miserable for the whole time. But
sure. 100%. I feel like I'm kind of really close to that as well. I mean, it maybe a little bit later in the week, it lingered for me, but I feel like I'm over the depression part now. And acceptance. It is what it is. And we'll get, like I said, we'll kind of get back to Bills Chiefs here in a few minutes. I do want to get to our preseason predictions. So again, there was 20 of them. Some of these will kind of fly through. A few we'll spend a few more minutes on. But
is there one thing I can bring up? I'm sorry, before we get to the predictions. Did you talk about the press conference, the end of the season? I thought it, because I wasn't on. If you don't mind, I'll try to be as brief as possible. I thought it was weird that Sean McDermott. It seemed like in the beginning of his presser, and look, if you listen to the beginning of it, you can tell he rehearsed a lot, some of that in the beginning, where he goes over with his PR, because you can tell he comes out, he's like, how do you get over the hump? How do you do that? Like, you can tell he's like coaching himself before. And I thought it was very weird, and I don't know if you talked about this, how it seemed like he said, we need to figure out what we did wrong on the final drive of the football game. I felt that was kind of weird. And then he kind of threw the defense like a little bit of a, then we got to figure out the defense too. But it felt kind of weird to me that he was kind of passing the buck and blaming the offense a little bit. And I think back, and I said this last week, and I think back to that Rams game when, like, after they scored 42 points, and after the game he was like, I wish we would have run the football better. And I was kind of like, you scored 42 points. Like, what do you care about running the football more? And I just felt like that comment was a lot of what I can have a little bit of an issue with the Bills sometimes, where I feel Sean McDermott is super, super protective of his defense, ridiculously protective of it, where, like, you're going to, like, try to be like, why didn't you score on the final drive? It's like, dude, like, why? Yeah, I get it, but why are you bringing, like, it just felt like he was just kind of deflecting blame off the defense, where it's like, you know what? You did have the ball. You did have the ball two seasons in a row. Like, yes, the Bills blew it, like, not blew it, but they didn't get the points when they had the ball with 3 minutes left in both the Chiefs games and the playoffs. But also, your defense had the ball. You couldn't got a stop after they failed, and your defense didn't do anything. And they just were like, oh, we're running out the clock. Goodbye. We're out of here. And that was it. And it just felt, and I wanted to bring that up because it's been kind of bothering me a little bit since Friday. And I get it. It's a press conference. It's bullshit 70% of the time. It just sounded very, I don't know, them kind of stabbing, poking the offense a little bit, instead of being like, hey, you know what? Your defense is like the main reason why you lost. And like you've lost in the postseason. They're the main reason why. I don't know. Do you remember what comment I'm talking about? Or I don't know if you talked about it.
Yeah, I do. I thought that stood out a little bit. I also would say, though, on the other way, is that Sean McDermott did call out his defensive line. He did say at times they weren't good enough. They needed to be better. So I don't think he completely, didn't give accountability to the defense, but yeah, maybe he could have a little more. I didn't think either press conference was groundbreaking.
Yeah,
a couple little things that we covered.
They talk a lot.
Yeah, I did a show with Chris Ostrander. Good guest too, by the way. I enjoyed him a lot. I look forward to having him on back. Very everybody knows him in the Sabres community as a hockey guy, but he's a very intelligent Bills fan as well, and he knows a lot about the city of Buffalo itself. So there's definitely somebody I enjoyed having on the show, and I'll have back. But anyway, yeah, we had a bunch of thoughts. Go back, everyone, if you want to hear that to Friday's show. Yeah, nothing groundbreaking. I mostly agree with what you're saying about Sean McDermott. It's a little bit bothersome. Let me get to these 20 predictions that we had before the season. Like I said, some of these we'll just gloss over. Some of them, we'll discuss a little further. There were 20. The majority of them were individual, and then we had a couple team ones at the end. And I'll go in order on how we did them on the show back in August. Number 1, who will lead the team in receptions and receiving yards? You said Dalton Kincaid would lead the team in receptions, Shakir in receiving yards. I said Shakir for both. Clearly, this season was Shakir. He had 76 catches. Dalton Kincaid was second, but he had 32 less. So everybody ate, but Shakir ate a lot more than anyone else throughout the course of the season. And he also had 821 receiving yards, which Keon Coleman was second. That was all the way back at 556. Kincaid here, I mean, you mentioned him as having the most catches going into the season. You weren't alone. There were a lot of people who thought
Yeah.
that. I remember having Howard Simon on for our season preview show right before the season started, and he said he could flirt with, triple digit catches, 1,000 yards, stuff like that. He would be,
Mhm.
a top 5 to 10 tight end. He wasn't. But anyway, yeah,
Yeah, he
so
wasn't he was quiet for most of the season. And even before, like I know the injury happened at the end, and that's kind of like the excuse of what made him slow down a little bit. And, sure, but like prior to the injury, I mean, he wasn't dazzling anyone.
right.
It just was. And I was surprised by it. I mean, I thought he was going to be Cole Beasley, like beefy Cole Beasley, and be
Yeah, me
underneath.
too.
And
That's what we
and he,
called him too. Beefy,
yeah,
beefy,
beefy
beefy
Cole
Cole
Beasley,
Beasley.
and he
Yeah.
wasn't.
So,
No,
so we were both right on Shakir, and I had you there on catches. Anyway,
sure.
Ben Pryor in the live chat. Hello there, guys. Appreciate you too. I appreciate you watching the show very much. Number 2, will Josh Allen have over 30 touchdown passes? You said no. I said yes. You were right. Josh
Yeah,
Allen had 28 touchdowns on the year, 3,731 passing yards too. Statistically speaking, from a passing perspective only, and not taking into account a lot of other stuff that made him great, but just purely statistically, this was a down season for Josh Allen. It doesn't mean his season was down, but
sure.
statistically speaking, his season was down. You were right there. He had only 28, so he did not get to 30. I thought he would.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, I think I felt the offense was going to be more balanced, and that's why I didn't think he was going to do it as much. And I was kind of right. So yay
Yeah.
me.
All right, here, number 3. Let me keep this rolling here. Will James Cook have more rushing yards this season than last season, which he had 1,122 last year? You said yes. I said no. I was right there, not by too much. So he had 1,009 yards. And I'll say this, if week 18 meant something and he plays the whole game, he probably gets really close to 1,122 yards. So I don't think either of us
Yeah.
were, over the top, right or wrong.
There
When
was
it came to that.
also and this year than in comparison to last year, there was more get different running backs involved than it was last year.
Yeah,
Where last
agreed.
year I felt he was more featured. He was the guy. Like if you
Mhm.
remember, Ty kind of came in the last month. Before that, it was who the hell was it? I forgot. It was Warren or whatever, the veteran guy that they had last year. I forgot his name.
Damian
Uh
Harris, Latavius Murray.
Murray, yes. Like Harris
Yeah.
got hurt. We know that. Like Murray kind of was in there here and there, but it was
He
it was
fizzled out.
Cook's.
He wore down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was Cook's show. And this year it was kind of more of a platoon
You know,
situation.
going to between Cook and Josh Allen, both those guys, we just talked about it. Josh Allen had a down year in touchdown passes. James Cook rushing production was down from last year. It just shows that sometimes statistics can be so misleading, because I think 10 out of 10 objective, reasonable Bills fans would conclude that Josh Allen was better this year than he was last year, and James Cook was better this year than he was last year. James
Yeah.
Cook ran with more of a purpose this year. He found the end zone a hell of a lot. He didn't have any costly fumbles, really
Mhm.
costly drops, things like that, like he had in 2023. You kind of agree with that? Like, you could throw the stat box in the garbage at times, at least anyway, when it comes to those type of comparisons.
I would say at times, but we have to remember like they blew out so many teams this year. Where by
Mhm.
the fourth quarter they had Mitch Trubisky in like at least
Sure,
4 of those games. So I think that's where stats can kind of be misleading, in
sure,
comparison to last year a little bit.
sure.
But
Very good
sure,
point.
they both had really good seasons, in terms of what they did.
Number 4 was, will Dawson Knox rebound from last season? Last season being 2023, of course. You said no. I said yes. Got to give you the advantage there. I think you
Yeah,
are a
well,
lot more right. Again, I don't think stats tell the whole story, because I think Dawson Knox did a good
well, they
job at
love
times.
him. I mean, Brandy Bean put him over like he was God in
He
the
did
press
put him
conference.
over big, but
Yeah,
statistically, look, Dawson Knox had 22 catches for 311 yards and 1 touchdown for the
no,
entire season. That's not great. I mean, he's
he
T8, he's tight end 2, but that's, he's getting paid good money. I get it to an extent, but yeah,
I'm
not a
I'm
bounce back year for him.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Look, I know after the press conference, it's like this guy's gonna stay forever because they all blew him how great he was. But man, I hope something happens where he takes a pay cut because he's getting fucking way too much money for what he does. I get it; he's a good blocker, etc. But my God, they're paying him way too much for what he's
Agreed,
got.
agreed,
You know,
100%. Prediction 5 was, Over under for Keon Coleman catches was set at 40. You said under. I said over. You got this one correct. 29 catches this year for 566 yards, 19.2 yards per catch. That is
That's
enormous.
impressive. Wow.
That is
Yeah.
very impressive. I'll say this too. He also missed a month. So kind of like where James Cook would have played week 18, he might have been right there. Him having 29 yards, it just some levels was definitely a product of missing time. I feel like if he plays those games, he probably gets to 40. Although I don't take anything for granted with the Bills passing game. Some of these guys would have one target for an entire game for weeks at a time, like Amari Cooper did. But anyway, production not what we hoped for. I think we saw this year, Joe, with Keon Coleman, a type of player struggles in separation, not consistent, but he can get you tough big boy catches. He can go over the top. He's a great receiver when a play breaks down and he's got to improvise. We saw plenty of that. 19 yards per catch is very, very impressive. I mean, I don't ever think he's going to be a polished route runner, so to speak, but I think what you saw from him is going to be what you see going forward. Just hopefully he's more involved in the offense. But he's not going to be Cole Bishop.
We'll have to see. I thought it was a tale of two seasons. I do remember us doing post shows and being like, this guy looks good right now, like in October. Mm-hmm. Then he got hurt, and then like he came back and he really didn't do anything, and then they kind of shitted on him. And I wonder if there's some sort of issues between them. Like if you remember, he got benched that one quarter because he was late. I think it was against Detroit or someone.
No, Jacksonville. First quarter, he scored a touchdown like as soon as he came into the game.
All right, he did, yeah. So I don't know if there's any sort of like they're trying to send messages to him, but it was
a little worrisome. That's a good point.
Yeah, but it was a tale of two seasons. Like I thought, he was being better than I thought he was going to be, and then he got hurt. And then, like, the season was kind of over for him.
I'm glad you said that. You know why I'm glad you said that? Because Brandon Beane specifically said that during the press conference on last Friday. He said Keon Coleman was not the same player once he got hurt and he came back. Just, being a rookie, getting through the injury, things like that. And Sean McDermott elaborated on that a little bit. But Beane kind of, that was one of his more outgoing comments from last Friday. Talked about that. Keon Coleman just wasn't the same player. Number 6, which offensive player will be the biggest scapegoat in 2024? You said David Edwards. I said Keon Coleman. I don't think there really wasn't one. I don't think there really was any scapegoat. Yeah. There's no I don't think there was a scapegoat in 2024. Nobody had a bad year, and if they had a down year, I don't think they were a scapegoat. I think it was deserved. Like Kincaid didn't have a great year. Knox didn't have a great year. I really don't think there was a scapegoat because the offense was pretty damn good all season. So there's not really somebody to kind of blame things on because not a lot went wrong.
I thought Tyler Bass got a little bit of that until like the end, maybe a little bit. Like he was kind of like, oh man, this guy's actually he didn't really cost him a game or anything. So a scapegoat. Yeah, I mean, because what is the definition? I gotta figure out what is the definition.
You're the one who made the questions.
I know, like scapegoat is kind of like what? Like, he's at fault for like the season going bad. I don't know. I mean, Tyler Bass, Alexander says Tyler Bass. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying like he was kind of to blame. Kincaid too. I feel like Kincaid got a lot of shit. I mean, there wasn't,
but he deserved it. So I really don't know that it's a scapegoat.
But no one. But a scapegoat is kind of like you're blaming him for what things went badly. I have to really think about what the fuck.
I was gonna say my definition personally of a scapegoat is when somebody gets blamed for something that's not really deserved. Like they don't deserve to be blamed. It's always like blame. Like I'll give you an example. If the secondary is playing badly, it's just low hanging fruit to say it's DeMar Hamlin's fault. It's not always DeMar Hamlin's fault.
But so he could be the scapegoat.
People hate DeMar Hamlin as a football player.
He could be the scapegoat then. Like people are blaming him.
But you said offensive player.
Oh, offensive player. Okay.
Yeah. So I really long story short.
I'll just say this. Edwards was pretty good. I didn't have an issue with him. He was fine. Yeah. Sure. Line was fine. I got no beef.
Number 7. I want to get through 10 and then we'll take a break and come back. Number 7. Which offensive player will be the biggest surprise in a good way in 2024? You said James Cook will have 1,700 plus total yards on offense. I said Ray Davis. Neither of us, I don't think, were completely right. Cook only had about 1,200 some total yards.
That's all he
Because
had
they
was
went by a
1,200.
committee. Yeah, they had about 1,000
I
yards
thought he.
rushing,
Oh,
200 some yards receiving. And I said Ray Davis, so I thought it was pretty good. The right answer would have been a surprise in a good way. I think it was Mac Hollins. Mac Hollins, 31 catches for 378 yards, and he led the team in 5 touchdowns. So neither of us were right. I think that Mac
yeah,
Hollins is
I
definitely
would
the
agree.
biggest surprise.
Collins definitely has that. Yeah.
And by the way, people who are watching this, if you're watching this on the video side, if you want to leave a comment, I'll try to get to some, either posting them up on the screen, or maybe we'll get to a handful near the end of the show. You can also tweet if you're listening to it. I'll get those up for a future episode. Anyway, number 8. What is your boldest prediction for the Bills' offense in 2024? You said they will fall out of the top 10 in scoring. I
Brilliant.
said Ray Davis is at least close to James Cook with production. We were both very off. The Bills were second in the NFL in scoring this year, so they didn't not just fall out of the top 10, they were second in the league.
Yeah.
I said Ray Davis would be close to Cook in production. That wasn't accurate either. Cook had 1,267 yards from scrimmage. Ray Davis had 631. That's a difference of 636 yards. So neither of us were right. In hindsight, if one of us would have said the boldest prediction is that the Bills' would have offensive success by not turning the ball over, they had a historically great season this year and not turning the ball over. So if one of us would have had the foresight to say the Bills are going to have a historic season when not turning the football over, that would have been the right answer. But anyway, yeah, we were both wrong there. Number 9, this is defensive side of the ball now. Who will be the Bills' defensive MVP? We both said Greg Rizzo, and despite his no-show last week in the AFC Championship game, I think we're both right there. Greg Rizzo, to me, was definitely the MVP of this team on defense throughout the year.
Yeah.
I mean, he was consistent pretty much all year.
Yeah. You can maybe say Benford, maybe, but
Sure.
Yeah, I would say, let's just say we're right because we want to be right.
We're right there. Here's one we were both wrong on. This will be the last one. Then we're going to take a quick break, come back, and we'll get through the rest of these and get to some other topics as well. Number 10, who will lead the team in interceptions? Joe said Rasul Douglas. Patrick said Rasul Douglas. 7 Bills tied for the team lead this year in interceptions with 2. 7 different guys. Rasul Douglas was not one of them. Rasul Douglas did not have an interception the entire season. So
let him walk.
He
failed us. Let him walk.
He probably will. He's a 31-year-old unrestricted free agent. Probably does. So we were both way off on there. Let's take a real quick break. On the video side, we're going to be back literally in 3 or 4 seconds, and we'll have a little more fun, get through these, and like I said, get to some other topics as well. All right, I'm back here with Joe from Queens, and we are going over our 20 preseason Buffalo Bills predictions, seeing what we got right, what we got wrong. We're going to talk a little bit of Sabres, a little bit of Royal Rumble stuff in just a few here. All right, so continuing on here. Number 11, we said, who will lead the team in sacks? You said Groot. I also said Groot. We were both right. Groot led the team, but only had 8 sacks this season.
Man, can we ever get a guy over 10 freaking sacks ever?
It's not
happening ever.
No,
ever.
Nope. Number 12. The Bills were 4th in scoring defense in 2023. Will they be better in 2024? You said no. I said no as well, and we're both right. The Bills were 11th in the league this year in scoring defense. Real quick, as an aside, 11th in scoring defense, despite an unbelievably great NFL, leading the NFL in turnover margin. Just imagine if this team didn't get the turnovers that they did all season long, which, a lot of them are earned. I don't want to take it away from them, but this defense would have really sucked this year if they didn't get the takeaways that they did.
I felt they took a little bit of a step back in comparison to last year. In terms of like yardage, and again, they got turnovers. That was what they did a lot of. But if you put everyone together and you have them face off against last year's guys who started, Like who had a better year than they had last year? Like maybe Benford
on the defense.
Yeah, like maybe
Benford.
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 Yeah, like I don't know. I
Group.
don't. Group maybe. I mean, Group was still good last year, but I don't think it was like, oh my god.
Yeah,
I thought Ed Oliver was a little bit better last year. I mean, at least sacks wise, he was.
Yeah.
But like no one on the defense was better in my opinion, aside from maybe Benford this year than
I
than
think that's
last
one of
year.
the questions, though. I think that was one of our questions. I
Yeah.
think I'm going to get to. By the way,
Sure.
quick little sidebar.
What
Shout
is
out.
this?
It's
God.
Mighty Taco. All right, listen. This is the truth.
Pandering Pat. Let's go.
No. I didn't eat Mighty Taco. I just got a fountain drink. I tied one on Saturday night for the Royal Rumble, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. And the next day, fountain sodas, when you have a hangover, I don't know for you, but for me, is like the best thing on the face of this earth. I think I haven't been drinking pop at all lately, but today was an exception. I probably have had like 100 ounces of soda today. Most of it fountain pops. This is like my third different one.
Dude, I can't
today.
even remember this is why I'm jealous of you right now. And first time ever in my life. I can't remember the last time I've been hungover. It has been a while. This is what happens when you have a newborn. Like I can't get drunk tonight and be like, I'm gonna wake up wasted and like, breathing alcohol on my kid when I'm trying to fucking change his diaper. But
it's not
it's been a minute. It's been a minute. Well, I'm just saying I haven't had fun to get that wasted. I can't remember last
typically
time.
don't. I like to go on hat bears. I drink.
Bro, you're drunk. Get out of here. You're like the town drunk.
I'm at my worst drinking when we have house parties. And I had a house party last night. We had the Royal Rumble at the house, and we had 15 people come over.
Oh, nice.
Did a pool, picked numbers and stuff like that. We gambled a little bit. It was a lot of fun. Anyway, a lot of spots of whiskey, and she'll get to that in just a bit. I want to get back to this Bills stuff. All right, so 13 was, who will be the biggest surprise for the Bills defense in 2024? You said Dorian Williams. I said Von Miller not being washed. I think both of those are reasonably correct.
No. I would go with Williams. Von Miller he was washed, dude. He played 16 snaps in the fucking
It's frustrating. Trust me, it's frustrating.
He was washed, dude. He was done.
I don't think he was washed, but he wasn't the Von Miller they needed.
Bro, if you're playing 15 snaps a game, 15 to 20, that's pretty washed to me.
It's also coaching too. I mean, hold on. Let's look. I want to in real time here. How many sacks did he have this year? He had 6 sacks, tied for second on the team. I thought his numbers were advanced.
He also got suspended for 3 games. I don't know, whatever.
He did. Look, I'm not saying the dude was great, and I don't think either of those were the biggest surprise. Dorian Williams was solid.
I would say Rapp was probably the biggest surprise. Maybe Rapp.
Yeah, I'd say so. And you kind of felt his absence, I think, in the AFC Championship game. There's a couple of people in the live chat that definitely agree with you as well. You could say Rapp. I think maybe Christian Benford becoming a top tier corner in the NFL might be also one of the biggest surprises. Number 14, who will be the biggest disappointment for the Bills defense? You said Von Miller. I said Taylor Rapp. I was wrong about Rapp because I don't think he was a disappointment. Von Miller, we just talked about it. I guess is what you.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think either is the right answer though.
Who is the biggest disappointment?
You're closer to being right than I am.
So who is your biggest disappointment on defense?
For me personally, I'd love to know what other people think about this. No, I would no. He only had 3 sacks though. 3 sacks is 3 sacks. That's not good.
Yeah.
I expected more. He was a big priority free agent re-signing. I expected more from DaQuan Jones than the Bills got.
You love that dude. You've always been obsessed with that dude. I'm
disappointed. I'm disappointed with him this season.
What about Douglas? Were you disappointed in him?
I don't think he was great.
Or was he like
in the conversation
who didn't really you never noticed him? Like he didn't get picked.
He didn't have a great year. I thought he got worse as the year went.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Pat, but I don't remember any game we watched where we were like, man, he got burned and that sucks. Like I don't remember. Like I'm
getting burned.
Yeah, I don't remember. Like
he got burned.
If I don't know, anyone in the comments want to mention like a really bad game, by all means, who's listening to us on YouTube, because I don't remember anything about him this year. Like I forgot he was there, to be honest with you.
He got beat some. My mind's not operating correctly right now to give you specifics.
Yeah, you're hungover. That's why.
Well, that playoff game, he got cooked in that playoff game against Denver on that first drive. He got cooked a handful of times. I think the Houston game, he got cooked on that long pass to Nico Collins as well. Look, he
Right.
wasn't awful, but he wasn't great either. So I could say Daquan, you could say Rasul. I think AJ Epinesa had a very quiet 6-sack season. Like, I don't think he was
Yeah, 6
a
sacks.
weapon.
Jesus.
We kept hearing, with Leonard Floyd leaving that he was going to get more reps and more opportunity, and this could be his breakthrough season. It wasn't. Pretty much you got the same AJ Epinesa this year that you did the last few seasons. Number 15, over-under set at 7.5 sacks for Ed Oliver. You said over. I said under.
Yeah, I was
So
wrong on that.
he only had 3. You know what? The last impression that I have of Ed Oliver is such a strong one, though. I ain't mad at him. Like, he only had 3 sacks in a regular season. I thought he was kind of pedestrian during the regular season, but he stepped up in the playoffs. He was great against the Chiefs. He was good in the playoffs, so I ain't mad at him.
Yeah.
But anyway, 7.5 sacks. He only had 3. 16. What will be your boldest prediction for the Bills defense in 2024? You said 2 players will have double-digit sacks.
Oh, yeah.
I said the offense carries them most of the season. So I got that one for sure.
Yeah, you definitely got that one.
Nobody had double-digit sacks.
I think I had Rousseau and Ed Oliver getting over 10 each, and that did not happen. They got 10 combined, or 11, right? I think so. Yay.
What 2 players?
Well, I thought the 2 players that would get over 10 sacks would be Ed Oliver and Rousseau, and I said that they.
Oh yeah, they got 11 combined.
Yes, I was making a hilarious joke there, but
you threw a special teams one in here before the season 2. You said, will Tyler Bass have another down season? You said yes. I said he's not even going to be on the team.
Yeah, you
by
definitely.
The end of this season.
Yeah,
so
we were
clearly. I lost that for sure. I thought he had a down season, though. I mean, he redeemed himself in the back half, but he missed some kicks that you got to make, and as a top tier kicker.
There was moments this year, but I do feel he didn't miss some kicks, but I do feel like the pressure was so amped up on social media, and I'm guilty too, but anytime he missed a kick, it just felt like it was the end of the world, and if you look at his misses comparison to every other kicker in the league, it's kind of the same. It's not that much
sure
different.
Ralph Wilson in the chat, by the way, you solicited Rasul Douglas takes, and somebody said his run support stuck out in a bad way more than his pass coverage. Look, it did one great year for Rasul. I think they're going to move on from him. Kyrie Elam's not going to be the answer either. They're going to get another corner.
Elam may have been the biggest disappointment. Talk about disappointments. He may have been the biggest disappointment, considering he had that, again, exhibit 5,525. Training camp is a joke. Don't fucking listen to shit. He was training camp MVP, and everyone was fucking Bills abating all over it, and oh yeah, he's gonna be great. And it's no, it's fucking preseason. Didn't mean dick. So
someone else in the comment, we were talking about surprises, but is he offense or defense? Brandon Codrington, the kick returner, was a big surprise. He was good. He definitely was good. 18. How many wins will the Bills have?
Oh,
you made fun of yourself plenty for this. You said the Bills were going to win 9 games.
I did have them going to the playoffs, though. At least I had them going.
You did, which didn't make any sense. So you were right on there. But anyway, 9 wins. You got them for. I had them for 11. Neither of us were really that close. The Bills had 13 wins, and if they cared, it would have been 14 at the end of the season. So we were both.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember the last time I was as wrong. I think it was maybe 2019. I was wrong when they finished. Was it 10-6? I think they finished the second year of Josh Allen. I didn't think they were going to be good that year, and I was totally wrong on them. That was the last time I was really wrong. But this was a bad one.
Well, I think you're not by yourself. I think I had 11. I think that was about as high as 95% of people predicted. And by the way, I don't want to misrepresent what Ralph was saying in the chat. He said, and he meant it in a good way. He thought Rasul Douglas was really good in run support. Anyway, 19. Will the Bills make the playoffs, and how far would they advance? You did say yes. So a 9-18, you had get in the playoffs. You said they're going to lose in Wild Card Weekend. I took the easy way out here. I said yes, they're going to make the playoffs, and I said at the time I'm not ready to answer that. So I didn't even give
you loser. I won this then. You lose. Yeah,
I'll admit this. I'll admit this. When the season started, I did not have them going to the AFC Championship game. I would have said they're going to make it to the divisional round and get the same result that they've got in the last handful of years. So neither of us were right there.
What
Thankfully,
was
of course.
Denver's record? Were they 10-7 or were they 9-8
Oh,
when they Denver? Were they 10-7 or 9-8? Do you remember?
10-7.
Okay, all right. So
Yeah,
I
10
was
and 7.
one like I said, 9-8 was going to get them in the playoffs. Whatever.
Sure.
Whatever.
And then the last one we had was our award predictions: offensive, defensive MVPs, and rookie of the year. You had Josh Allen, you had Groot, and Cole Bishop. I had Josh and Groot as well, and I had Ray Davis. I think Ray Davis was the rookie of the year, not by a ton. I mean, he carried the Bills in that Jets game on Monday night. He had a pretty decent, nothing crazy. I want to make sure I have the right numbers here, but he ran for 442 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a couple good receiving games. So I think it's safe to say Ray Davis was the rookie of the year. Cole Bishop may go on to have a better career from this class, but this season, that's fun to go back and I don't think the wins you were really off on.
Yeah, I was really off on that.
I don't think anything else we were like completely crazy off on.
No, I mean Cole Bishop, I'll say this, like I thought he was going to take Hamlin's job early in the season because that position going into the season, like
him getting hurt in the summer hurt him.
I had no confidence in the safety position, and then it was fine-ish. I mean, it had its blemishes with Hamlin, but like I thought he was going to take the job at some point. He didn't. But you're right. But they always have that redshirt freshman year with these rookies sometimes, and maybe him and Carter were those guys. Carter is interesting to me, like Dwayne Carter, like in the beginning of the year, I think you and I talked about him a lot here and there. He had some nice splash plays.
He was good against Houston. I remember that.
Then he got hurt, was out. And then we never saw him again. And it was like, what the fuck?
He didn't even dress in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Brandon Beane also kind of talked about him with another wrist injury that he wasn't the same after. So
it got me thinking because it's like, man, when you think about improvements this team has to make in the offseason, like I would not count on the rookie class to do that. And when I say that in like a first year, not long term. Like long term, who knows? But first year, like if you have it in your head, like, oh yeah, this rookie first rounder, this rookie second rounder is gonna put them over the top. Like, good luck with that, because that just hasn't really been their thing. They love the kind of soul play, and yeah, you'll have your outliers. Like, Kincaid had a nice rookie year, Rousseau had a nice rookie year, but then all these other guys, like James Cook didn't do dick his first year. H.A. Panessa didn't do dick. There's more guys that didn't do much who are in that first to third round who you think can maybe play and start, who kind of redshirted. They came back, but I could be wrong.
I think a problem with the Bills in recent years, and by the way, Mark in the chat had a good comment. He says it's a problem when a 4th round running back is your rookie of the year.
Yeah,
sure, especially when you have James Cook on your team. You know what I mean? You don't expect the rookie to have to do much. I'll say this quickly, and then I want to get to a couple other things. I think Brandon Beane has gotten burned a little bit in the last couple of years with the draft and the early parts of the draft by drafting for need. This team had needs going into the draft. And I think by him taking need over like the best player available early in these last couple of drafts has hurt them. I mean, you go back to the last couple of years, Kyrie Elam was a need pick. I mean, Kansas City jumped the Bills and took McDuffie, and the Bills went right back because they needed a corner, and they took Elam. The results have spoken for themselves. That's not debatable. Yeah. Dalton Kincaid last year, I mean, there was a run on receivers. The Bills needed a weapon, and they maybe they reached for him, maybe they didn't. Look, he had a good rookie season. One of the, statistically, his output was among the best ever for tight end. But statistically, it was his rookie year.
But he had like less than 10 yards a catch.
Agreed. And then this year was the regression. Injury was a factor, but he still regressed. My point is, maybe Keon Coleman too. We'll see. You know what I mean? There's receivers right now that look better than him, but again, the Bills needed a receiver. Take Kincaid or Coleman out of this offense this year, and the Bills' offense was still good. Kyrie Elam over the last couple of years, how much better would this team be if instead of taking Dalton Kincaid or Elam or something like that, or Keon Coleman, they had a great defensive tackle or defensive end, even though it wasn't as big of a need, or a safety or a corner or a guard, something like that. I'm saying that it feels like they have really drafted for need at the top, and I kind of feel like on some levels that's hurt them a little bit.
I don't know if I would agree with Kincaid as being a need because they had Dawson Knox at that time, and Kincaid,
I don't consider him a tight end, though. That's my thing. To me, he's a weapon. That's what they called him.
Well,
you know what I mean?
at that time, a lot of people felt he was like the best player on the board for Kincaid, at least. But I'm not a draft guy, so I'll adhere to you on this, to be honest with you. But look, Bean has to be. I get it. Look, I know like there are people out there that listen and they're like, "Oh, Bean, like every GM has their misses, all that sort of shit." And like, I'm here to tell you, like, I don't give a shit if other teams have their misses. Like, that's their problem, not our problem. Like,
Agreed.
He needs to hit up on some of these first rounders a little bit better.
Agreed.
And I'm sorry, like there are guys like you need to, especially if you're going to be a team that are they aggressive with free agency in the last 6-7 years? Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. And if you're not going to be aggressive, you need to hit those draft picks. If you're not going to go out there and get like T. Higgins, or you're not going to go out there and get other guys, and they do occasionally, as I said, but if you're not going to go and get those big splash guys, and you got to be really good at, you have to draft these guys, and he needs to be better at that. And you can play that, that game of Russell Wilson over TJ Graham kind of thing or whatever, like we used to do when the Bills were shitty, and now you don't do that as much because they're better, but still, like you need to hit on those picks. And that's how you're going to beat the Chiefs.
Quickly here, speaking of the Chiefs, quickly before we get to a couple other topics, you brought a point to me this week that you wonder if the Bills' inability to get over the hump and beat the Chiefs at this point is as much psychological now as anything. Quickly, kind of elaborate on that a little bit. Are you of the mindset that it's psychological, that mentally it does play a role, that something's going to go wrong and they don't beat the Chiefs? Is that how you feel right now? That mentally is part of the problem? Does he get over the hump and beat this team? When it matters. They beat them 4 years in a row in the regular season.
Well, that's exactly it. How could you beat them 4 years in a row in the regular season? You can't beat them in the playoffs. And these are all close games. And these are games where in the playoffs, you could say like I don't want to say, like in essence, kind of, I don't want to say, one instance was definitely choke job, but others are like miscues. Like go back to 13 seconds. Like maybe it was on their mind. Like we lost to this team last year and then they panicked in like that last 13 seconds. Then you go to last year's game, go to the final drive. You got the ball with less than 3 minutes left. You get down the field and there's errors. There's an error where Josh Allen misses Shakir. And I know someone's going to say, well, Chris Jones threw Dawkins. And that's true. But you know what? He could have shifted to the left. And I remember this play. He could have shifted away from that, hung in there and darted it. And instead he missed him. And then Tyler Bass misses a kick. And then even in that game, Stephon Diggs drops a pass. Like, do we think maybe he dropped that pass because he was putting too much pressure on himself and it was in his head? Like, holy shit, it's the Chiefs. I'm about to maybe catch a game-winning touchdown. And, like, there's those errors. And then this year in the playoffs, that start of the game, like, resonates with me. And I think it's something that folks won't talk about all that much. It will be about the refs or it will be about the Kincaid drop, which, again, the Kincaid drop. Another thing where mentally, like, are you pressing there? But the start of that game, like Josh Allen's throwing fucking YOLO passes, and you're like, what are you doing, dude? And I felt they were very tight. And I think it is in their heads a little bit. Like, how do you lose 4 straight years in the playoffs to this team? Not 4 straight years, but 4 times in the playoffs, but you beat them 4 times in the regular season. It just feels like it's in your head. And then look, I think the Bills are right there. I don't think it's like, oh my God, like we got to panic or any of that shit. Like, like they're right there. They're knocking on that door. And like, these are miscues that you're like, are you pressing in a little bit? Even going for the fucking tush push. I know it worked all year, but I'm watching that game. They ran that thing 4 times, 5 times. And like on the second time, I was like, dude, they know this is coming. They're killing them.
Did you hear the chief safety, Joe? I forgot his name. It escapes me, but the chief safety said to the media, they knew what was coming and they sold out to stop it. He said straight up, if the Bills would have made an adjustment, like if they would have went to the right or did something else, they weren't going to be prepared for any of that. They were all in on stopping it to the left-hand side. I just bring it up because you brought up.
Yeah, no, push. I mean, but those are one of those moments where if you're pressing, you're maybe like, you know what? Screw it. We're just going to keep going with what we can do because I'm not changing it because I'm scared like if we change it, we're going to fail. Even go to last year, how desperate was it that, they faked a punt to Damar Hamlin in a playoff game, and when it was like a horribly like that feels like a pressure,
the
like
least athletic DB maybe in the NFL.
yeah, but like that feels like you're just pressing pressing yourself a little bit, and there are examples like guys getting in your head, like I'm sure Michael Jordan got in there, and like a bunch of NBA players in the 90s when the Bulls were winning 6 championships, and he's in your head, even though like there were moments I remember where the regular season, I remember the Knicks would beat the Bulls in the regular season, and in the playoffs they would lose to them constantly with Jordan. I'll even go to like the Bills Super Bowl days, and I'm going way back, but during the Super Bowl when they went to 4 straight Super Bowls, the third and fourth ones were disasters because, in my opinion, they pressed too much and it got in their heads. And when something went bad, they lost their fucking minds in those games. Sure. And I don't know if it's to an extent, like obviously with this is a lot closer, but I do think it's a little bit in their head. Like it's in my head. I know you're an athlete and you forget, but like if you're going to come out and you're the team and you're like, oh man, like, people doubted us and like everyone thought we were going to lose. Like, if you're letting that outside noise get to you about the disrespect, then that tells me then it might be getting into your head as well when it comes to like the Chiefs as well, because you're now 0 for 4. Yeah. Like, and there's not sorry, Pat. There's not many teams that I can think of that have had this bad of a stretch over 5 years of even Brady, like the heyday of the Patriots, like. They would lose to the Ravens sometimes. I remember they would lose to Flacco, and then they had a couple. They lost to the Jets. I remember a couple times or one time, and the Broncos they lost to. Like there would be times that they would lose to these teams, but like I can't remember like Tom Brady beating a team 4 times in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like it has to be in their head is all I'm saying. It
is on some levels. I think more so in Sean McDermott's head maybe than the players themselves. Last thing I'll say, and then I want to get to other stuff too.
Sure.
When it comes to it comes down to a couple plays. These last 3 times they've played them have come down to 1 or 2 plays. Well, 2021 did not come down to a play. It came down to Sean McDermott gagging and joking. That's what that came down to. These last 2 years came down to a couple plays. I want to say this about Josh Allen, okay? I haven't watched the game several times. To me, both these points could be true. Josh Allen played good enough for the Bills to win both these last 2 seasons, but I also think it's fair to say Patrick Mahomes has outplayed Josh Allen in the playoffs. Definitely. Patrick Mahomes has been money when they need him to. He has found the right receivers. He's made the right throws, the right reads, the right plays, using his legs at the right time. Patrick Mahomes has been nearly perfect, where Josh Allen has played well enough to win, but his game hasn't been clean, not even close to Pat Mahomes. So I think both those things could be true.
The Chiefs also had, like last year, Kelsey had a big game. This year, Worthy had a big game. The Bills haven't had a wide receiver, tight end have a big game. Like, sure. I mean, Mac Hollins did, like, he was decent, like, but like it's 70 yards. It's not like he had 130 or whatever. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
no, I agree. They
need some guys to help them. And
we got plenty of weeks to continue talking.
We got a long time, man.
About the Bills. I wanted to get quickly your reaction on that trade this weekend. Even whether you're a big NBA fan or not, you can even just be a casual fan. You know the names Luka and Anthony Davis. That was one of the biggest trades, most shocking trades I've ever seen in my entire life. That happened during a season, no rumors, no nothing, and all of a sudden, bam! Saturday night, again, one of the biggest trades you'll ever see goes down. Wrestling comparison, to me, this would be like the what team is it? Let's say the Lakers are trading Seth Rollins. Mm-hmm. Good player, getting up there in age, a lot of injuries, and you're trading him for Will Ospreay. You trade him to AEW for like Will Ospreay. Or like NFL terms, a lot more people understand this. Most people don't give a shit about wrestling. It'd be like trading Joe Burrow. He got the Bengals to a Super Bowl, didn't win one, just like Luka did last year with the Mavs. It would be like trading Joe Burrow for like Matthew Stafford. Like that's the kind of trade that this was. Just 2 superstars, one of them much younger and just different types of players. But what a crazy trade, man. These guys are both great players. This to me I had to go back and think about it. The most shocking trade I've seen since Wayne Gretzky got traded from the Edmonton Oilers to the LA Kings.
Yeah, I guess Stephon Diggs getting traded was shocking too. I don't know. No, there's probably a lot of other shocking moments. It's a super. I mean, I think Luka getting traded just is amazing because the Mavs went to the finals last year, and then like it also shows you like the power of like leaking stuff. Like this trade happens, no one sees it coming. Then all of a sudden,
Nobody.
The Mavericks are leaking stuff like, oh, his health was pretty shitty, or like he wasn't taking his conditioning very, very well. Like, where the hell did this come from? But and you know, Anthony Davis has been one of those guys who just, to me, it's. I mean, I think the Lakers won this deal on the outskirts. Like, you get a guy who's 25 years old, a top 10 player, a scoring
long
machine.
term, I think 100%, 100% long term.
And then Anthony Davis is a guy, you know, he's a big man. He's in his 30s. Like, big man in their 30s. Yeah, in his 30s, start going downhill pretty fast. You're big, you're fucking, you know, the bones, all that sort of shit. But it was just crazy. Like, I saw the trade. Like, I watched the Royal Rumble last night on delay. Like, and I didn't finish it till like 1:30, and I had my phone off because I knew I was gonna get texts from people, and I was like, no, I don't want to fucking deal with this. I don't want to read this stuff. And I turn my phone on, I look at Yahoo Sports, I'm like, whoa, I'm like, this trade happened. I was like, this is insane. And you know, the NBA is so, say what you will about the NBA, like if you're one of those old school annoying people who's like, they don't play defense anymore, where's the blue collar and grit and whatever, all that jackass shit. They know how to make trades in that league. You know, and they're always making good deals, but that deal is absurd. It was just
Dallas is getting drilled in the media. There's always more to the story than we know, though. It sounds to me like the early read I'm doing is that Luka was, by the way, the salaries in the NBA. He could have gotten a 5-year, $345 million super max extension.
Give me that money, man.
Yeah, $69 million a fucking year. And by the way, because now he's a Laker,
nice.
The NBA is weird. Like, I kind of like this, though. I like what the NBA does. If you want to keep your own guys, you draft, you develop them, you could pay somebody a hell of a lot more money to retain them than they can go out and get in the open market. I actually love that shit. But anyway, this trade is costing him financially $116 million, man, over 5 years. Now, dude's still rich beyond belief. I guess for the immediate term, you could say too, because he's kind of like the same player as LeBron. I don't know if it's a good fit for the Lakers. And look, we're not here to be NBA analysts right now. We're not really breaking down the trade. To me, it was more about just the shock and the awe of the trade. And like I said, I got to go all the way back to Wayne Gretzky to come up with a bigger, holy shit, this came out of nowhere. At the time, Blockbuster. And even that trade, though, was during the offseason. Like, this might be the biggest in-season trade I've ever seen in sports, ever. That's how big it was. So anyway, I want to hit on the Sabres too real quick here. They're getting hot. 1-3 in a row. They did win on Sunday. They beat the Devils 4-3. The funny thing is, with this fucking team, they win the game. All right. But if you didn't watch it on Sunday, and probably the most of you listening to the show are Bills fans, not so much Sabres fans, probably didn't watch the game. Tage Thompson, their best player, leading scorer, got hit with a cheap shot right in the head in the third period. And a 5-minute penalty was called, but the Sabres did nothing physically to respond to that. And fans and media have dragged them through the mud all of Sunday. Dr. Brian Cox, I don't know who that is, but he had a tweet. I saw it. I had to say this because I got to make sure I give him credit. He said, only this team can you get to hate them even when they win. I said, fucking nobody is happy with the Sabres. This team is a dead last place in the conference. They're going nowhere. They're out of the playoffs. Their best player gets hit in the head. You got Matthias Samuelsson on the ice, and he fucking does nothing. Nobody does nothing. Lindy Ruff was testy and angry after the game, kind of playing both sides of the fence a little bit, though. But you got to respond, right, Joe? I mean, I know you watched the replay before we went on the air. That's a dirty, cheap shot to your best player. You can't let that go for another time. You got to respond to that.
You know, I don't know. Yeah, you can't. Especially hockey's weird. They have this cold bullshit. Like if you hit our guy, we got to go kill your guy. It's kind of barbaric. It's how it's been. It's weird. If anything I take from it is like Lindy, like defending what they did. And like, we need to get the 2 points. And I remember Lindy back in the day, like you think of the Senators game, you know, 2007, when like they fucking elbowed Chris Drury and he got bloody, and like Lindy was like, "Fuck this, we're running these guys like right now." Like,
you don't hit our freaking captain.
yeah,
Captain.
and he brought all of the goons out to go fight everyone. And then I think about the Lucic and Ryan Miller thing, and that
this
kind
was
of
that.
A little bit of that, where like, and then he was pissed off after the game, and they fucking changed their culture of the team the next year because they traded Derek Roy for Steve Ott, and their marketing became like tougher to play against. We're all going to be tougher to play against now because they had Ott, and they brought a couple fucking goons in there. I think Joe Finley, I forgot his fucking name or whatever the fuck that guy's was. Yeah, I mean, you probably should. I feel I have mixed feelings because look, I'm not a hockey purist over here. I'm not a fucking jock. I know definitely there are people very upset about this, and I get it because that's about the code. And people were upset when that Lucic shit happened. I remember it was a big fucking deal. But at the end of the day, yeah, they probably should have done it. You're in last place.
There's variables.
Is it gonna matter long term? Fucking no. You know, and what's going to happen is they'll meet them next year, and then they'll fucking have they'll fight someone, and it'll be stupid. And
there's variables to it. Like if you're a team that, look, every point is critical to your season, you can't afford to potentially do something stupid because they did get a 5-minute power play and they had to lead in the third period. Okay. Again, if you're in a playoff fight and every point matters, absolutely, you need to have some restraint and some discipline, and save it for a rainy day, and you'll get your retribution. They'll get their comeuppance at another time. But you just said it. They are dead last in the conference by 5 points too. So it's not even close. They're 11 points out of a playoff spot. Their season is done, shot. They ain't going nowhere. And your star player gets hit in the head with a cheap shot. You gotta fucking go get some retribution. I don't want to hear about them taking care of it the next time they play.
As I said, I guess I'm a wimp. I don't know. I hate the code. I think it's stupid, but I understand. Like, yes, by the code of whatever the fuck, yeah, you have to do it. But I think the interesting thing is Ruff not sticking up for them, not doing it, and him saying the bench wanted to go after them, and he said no. That tells me that
he's changed.
Either A, he's changed, or B, him and Adams are under so much pressure they have to get something going where they finish the season like, yeah, you missed the playoffs, but hey, you were 6 points out and you made a nice run, and the team got used to the system or whatever the fuck cliche you want to get. It was just kind of stupid.
It's annoying. And again, I thought the tweet was perfect. Even when this team wins, they still manage to find a way to make their fans fucking hate them.
I mean, I missed all of that. I mean, I'm still not interested in the Sabres. Like, I know Bill's season's over, and I may watch a game or two here. I haven't watched anything. I know Rob Ray got honored, and they gave away some pins or some shit the other night. Whatever. I'm so ambivalent about the Sabres. I may watch it just so I could talk to you about shit on Sundays instead of us talking about the 5 things the Bills need to do to become good. Or the fuck it is like we come up with for the next 9 months of fucking programming. It's gonna be terrible.
Yeah, look, and they've won 3 in a row. It just doesn't matter when you bury yourself like they have. The fans got no faith in you, and I'm done talking about them as well. Like I said at the beginning of the show too, one of the silver linings about Bills season being over is we could have Bills talk, and we always will, because I'm dumb, but I'm not that dumb. I know the majority of people week after week are going to continue to come.
Well, it's also your wheelhouse. Like your hockey acumen sucks. Your baseball acumen's kind of okay, probably, but you're a football guy and wrestling guy.
I'm also a wrestling
guy and cheesy 80s guy and cheesy hoodie guy.
Yeah, for sure. I am a wrestling guy, and this is why I said, it's fun, and I save it for the end. Save it for the end. It's not like I've learned that lesson here through the years of doing this show. Don't do something you want to do first if it's not going to be what the audience wants.
Well, you see, I would, because I don't care about the audience. Sorry, chatters. I don't care about you at all.
But WWE, my favorite event of the year, I like it way better than WrestleMania or anything else. The Royal Rumble was Saturday. Like I said, we had a nice party. It's always fun. There's 30 entrants, so we buy numbers, 1 through 30. We draw the number. You don't know who you're going to get till that wrestler comes out, and we throw a couple bucks in the pot. It just makes for a lot of fun. Plus, every year there's surprises, there's storylines, things come out of the Royal Rumble that are cool. For the people left here on the show who are interested in wrestling, what were your biggest takeaways from the Rumble? Obviously, a shocking men's winner with main event Jey Uso. That was shocking. Charlotte winning on the women's side, probably the least shocking thing that's happened in 2025 around the world this year. But anyway, quickly, what were some of your biggest takeaways from that and Jey Uso winning?
I mean, the Uso thing, I was shocked. I watched it at my friend's house. He's a wrestling fan. I went over to his crib to watch it. And it was like, okay, you're getting down to like the final 5, 6, and then like, they eliminated Punk, Rollins, Roman really quick. I was like, okay, well, I had Punk winning and I thought he was gonna win. And my second was Roman. And I was like, all right, fine. Like, it's gonna be Cena. He's gonna go for the record, breaking the fucking Ric Flair stuff. And okay, he's doing against Uso, cool. And then Uso wins. I'm like, that was like the most shocking Royal Rumble result I can remember.
Maybe
where
ever.
because they usually I can predict it pretty well. And you know what? That's what happens when WWE is hot. It's a hot fucking company. You can take chances and be like, you know what? Why do I got to put all these other guys that are already over? Let's do something with Jay.
If we did a show pre-game, pre-Royal Rumble, and I said, Joe, give me 5 guys who are going to win the Rumble, I can almost guarantee you Jey Uso was not going to be winning 5. Nor was he mine. But here's my thing, too. The IWC, the Internet Wrestling Community, a lot of them are losing their minds on social media. But I would say this to you. One of the biggest complaints I've heard about Triple H, the Triple H era, is that pay-per-views seem safe. Like nothing really has been happening. Nothing like no gasping kind of moments. And then he gives you something that's completely unpredictable that nobody saw coming. And people want to shit on that too. So it's like, oh, it's so predictable. CM Punk's going to win, blah, blah, blah. Well, then CM Punk doesn't win, and neither does any of the favorites. And it's Jey Uso, and people are still shitting on that as well.
I don't give a shit about the IWC.
Don't complain about a lack of, being unpredictable and stuff. If you're just going to bitch about something when it is unpredictable. That's kind of my takeaway. I don't like Jey Uso as a wrestler, by the way. I want to make that clear.
Yeah, I mean, but he's very over though. Like when he comes out, the crowd fucking loves him. Like they love the
LA Knight a couple of years ago, but not on this level. I agree with you.
Yeah,
there.
I mean, Uso's. Yeah, he has to get a little bit better. Like he's very like. I don't know. He's very like poor man's Young Bucks. Like he does a lot of super kicks and he does some high fly shit.
This last 2 years, the big, maybe the worst match of the year. Him and his brother was a stinker at WrestleMania.
Yeah, that bad chemistry.
People are bitching because he's going to wrestle Gunther again. Those have not been entertaining matches. But anyway,
we'll see what happens. I mean, maybe he'll lose the opportunity. Who knows? I mean,
I can't see that happening. Couple cool surprises. Alexa
Stratus.
Alexa Bliss. I don't care about her. Alexa Bliss is the one I care
Why you
about.
got to discriminate against Trish Stratus?
I have expected because she's been in and out a couple times over the last few years. I have expected her, and plus she's one and done, I'm sure. Alexa Bliss is back though. I thought that was cool. I marked out for that big time. And then on the men's side, Joe Hendry, because I follow TNA enough to know him. And
you love that song.
Oh, it's a great fucking song.
It's fucking great. I'm surprised you haven't stolen it.
LA Knight, Jey Uso, they're getting over because of either their theme songs, or because of catchphrase and stuff like that. I kind of love that. No Becky Lynch, no Asuka, no Randy Orton. There were a lot of no shows that I kind of expected. Like I said, the women's match was fine, but it was just so obvious. Charlotte in the bank, she was not going to lose. And one other thing too, I thought the Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes, I thought that was a good match. Like that was
a lot of high risk. Yeah, violent
odd at the end. I was like, Kevin Owens is dead, man. That was pretty wild. Let me run down for you before we get out of here what I think right now the wrestling card is going to look like for WrestleMania.
Oh, I like
if you agree with these, if you got a couple thoughts of your own. So to me, it's looking like Jey Uso is going to wrestle Gunther. That'll be probably your night 1 main event. I think Cody Rhodes is going to be 1 or 2 people. It's either going to be Randy Orton or it's going to be John Cena. I could see Cena winning the Elimination Chamber next month to get a title shot for Cody. You could build that up really good. Cena trying to make history. So I could see that. I think you're headed towards a Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, CM Punk triple threat match. I don't love that, but that seems to be the direction. Charlotte Flair is going to wrestle Tiffy Time. That's going to be a good match. Rhea, either like Elo Sky or Bianca. I could see that. Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, maybe. I don't know what's going to happen with Drew, who, by the way, was pissed off the way he got eliminated last night. There's a lot of
he was pissed off at LA Knight allegedly because I guess LA Knight had to get his moves in and they kind of messed with their
taken away from his elimination. They kind of
because I guess him and Priest are supposed to feud at some point.
Braun Breaker, who knows? A little bit early. Some of those guys are not going to be in the biggest matches. But that's kind of, I think, The Rock could change things, of course, if he comes back. Him and Cody would.
I'll say I could see Jey Uso. What if he goes to NXT? Remember a couple years ago, Charlotte did the NXT thing. She took her title and she had her chance and she went to go against Rhea Ripley. Maybe Jey does that with NXT and that's how they're going to do it. Like to kind of be like, to avoid Gunther. I'm just throwing it out there.
I know, but the story's been, I could beat him. I know I could beat him.
Yeah.
That's so
it's like Apollo Rocky kind of thing, whatever. I think Cody, I see Cody more Cena, possibly, like they want to do that. I could see Punk and Owens, maybe. And then Roman, man, I mean, you're right. What the hell
I feel like the stage was set, though. The way they were fighting outside of the ring, the way they all got eliminated together.
But I felt they're going to be in the Elimination Chamber. And that's kind of how that they were trying to have those three hate each other and then go to the Elimination Chamber. But you're right. They could do a triple threat match. But like, I don't know, triple threat matches without a title on the line don't really mean that much. As far as I feel like you have to have some sort of gold on the line.
It doesn't seem like CM Punk, unless he wins. Now, look, he could win Elimination Chamber still and wrestle Cody Rhodes. I mean, they kind of teased that the Raw before on Netflix, the Raw before the Royal Rumble. In fact, you can make a good case for that. I'll say this. The Elimination Chamber next month in Toronto is going to be interesting because now that Jey Uso is going to wrestle Gunther, who's going to wrestle Cody? I guarantee the main event's going to be an Elimination Chamber, and the winner gets Cody Rhodes. And, it could be Cena. It could be CM Punk. It's going to be one of those two.
Could be Roman.
You don't know.
They could have Roman. They could, like, who the
years, though. But
I mean, I could see Roman. I can see Roman and Fatu maybe, like the Jacob Fatu maybe at Mania. Like they do those two and like they kind of have that. I don't know. They can go anywhere. So, we'll see what happens. But yeah, it was Royal Rumble was great. I've always enjoyed it. I think it's one of those things where even if you don't watch, like you used to watch, you can come fall back in and watch that because
it's just fun and it's chaotic
it's a great concept. God live, rest in peace, Pat Patterson for figuring that out.
I forgot about Nikki Bella too. Allentown in the chat.
I never liked Nikki Bella. She just didn't do it for me. Sorry.
I like her. I was only because she was number 30.
Yeah.
I was only disappointed because I wanted to see Becky Lynch, and I thought it was going to be Becky Lynch, and when it wasn't Becky Lynch at 30, that disappointed me a little bit. And yeah, I thought Cena was going to win when it came down to those two. Anyway, all right, let's get out of here.
We're done.
Good show today, but like I said, man, kind of.
Did you want to go through comments real quick at all? You said you were going to put some comments.
No, I've been putting them up on the screen, and
but we haven't acknowledged them. You're not acknowledging these poor people.
I put them up on the screen.
You're ignoring my boy Tooch.
Tooch,
you're ignoring Tooch. Ralph Wilson. Yo, we're sorry, guys. Look. We need to figure out a better way with the comments. I don't like this comment thing you're doing. I
don't want to backtrack to go. A lot of the stuff that people commented on were backtracking and already hit on when it came.
We just have to hit it. Like you just have to be like, okay, while I'm talking, be like, okay, here's a comment from this guy. Like it's not that fucking hard. I know you want to get your shit.
Maybe you don't
You're
have
like the Hulk Hogan. I swear to Christ. Like that's what
maybe you don't have 15-minute rants about the Bills' psychological struggles, and we might have a little bit more time.
You wanted me to bring it up. Like you thought about it, bro. Like sorry. Oh my God. Whatever. All right, it's gonna be a horrible off season. I need a vacation. I don't even want to be on this. I'm like your last good friend on here. Everyone else has abandoned you and you're fucking you're gonna have Tooch on and next time in the comments of Ralph Wilson Sr. is gonna be your next guest.
And Mark.
Tooch and Ralph.
I appreciate. I do. On a serious note, I do appreciate everybody who watches it and leaves comments here on the live.
Please share it. We're gonna do something better for the comments next time because I'm sick of this shit.
Yeah, the people also continue to comment the conversation going on the YouTube comments when the video's out as well. So that's always fun. I like interacting as well. But
yeah, again, Pat Screenbag grabs them and when people insult me and sends them to me.
I was just about to compliment you and say you've done a tremendous job this episode of not intentionally cutting me off, and then in the last 3 minutes or so, when I've tried to get out of here with an outro, I feel like you've done it now 3 times, And I'm starting to think it's on purpose as well.
Yep, it is on purpose because you're like Hogan. You can't go. Look, I don't want to go home yet. Like we're not going home yet. Got to drop another leg on me, brother.
It's an hour and 15 minutes. Kind of fun though when it's the off season now, but you can still have hour and 75-minute episodes and still feel like there's a little bit of meat on the bone left. But we'll save it for next time.
What's gonna happen next time? Are we gonna do it after the Super Bowl? I'm gonna be like, hey, I watched a quarter.
I don't know. That's to be determined. There will be a Monday episode. I just don't know.
If I hated you or if I had ambition, I would say we should do a live one during the Super Bowl and we watch it together while on here. We just watch it for 4 hours straight and watch you get shit faced. It'll be hilarious. The key is for you to get shit faced. The key is, well, I know. I'm just saying they can watch us while we're watching it. You're gonna watch it, bro. You can't do it.
I'm gonna watch it, but I'm not gonna be invested in it. I might not watch the whole game. And I'm going to root for the Chiefs. I'm just going to tell you that too. We'll end that. I'm going to root for the Chiefs.
Oh my God. I'll definitely bring this up.
I hate the fans. Their fans are scumbags. They're the worst fans in sports.
Oh yeah, the Chiefs fans are great. They just have a racist chant. They're awesome. Yeah, fucking hell. Awesome, dude.
All right, guys. That is going to do it for this episode. Thank you, Joe from Queens.
Revoke this guy's Bills Mafia card. He wants the Chiefs to win. Revoke it. Done.